Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Villa Moignet. I'm Gloria Gaglioli, the director of the Geneva Academy of International Humanitarian Law and Human Rights. I'm truly delighted to welcome you here in person for this special event, actually a ceremony of a highly symbolic one. We are going to witness the restitution of a looted icon of Saint John the Forerunner of the 18th century to its lawful owner, namely the Church of Cyprus. And you can see the icon over there in the corner on the table. To give you a bit of context, the icon was allegedly looted by a British serviceman in Cyprus in 1974. And you will remember that 1974 is the year when the conflict opposing Turkey to Cyprus raged. The details of the circumstances are unknown. But still, given this broader context of an armed conflict, I believe that the Villa Moignet, a place full of history, which used to be the headquarters of the International Committee of the Red Cross, is the perfect place for such a ceremony. I would like to thank the Art Law Center, which is based at the University of Geneva, and in particular, Professor Marc-André Reynolds, who has approached us to co-organize this event. I have to say that when Professor Reynolds called me to ask whether we would welcome this event at the Villa Moignet, I responded immediately and almost instinctively, yes, of course, with pleasure. And why? Well, this is not only because I'm full of admiration for the work of the Art Law Center. It's not only out of friendship for Professor Reynolds, but it's also because for once, we would not just be talking about reparation, conceptualizing reparation, discussing reparation as we do at the Geneva Academy, but for once, we would actually witness an act of reparation. The Geneva Academy has a mission to disseminate knowledge through its education programs, its research, its events on the law applicable in armed conflicts and in post-conflict settings. So we engage with issues pertaining to transitional justice, notably in the context of the Master in Transitional Justice, which is the first of its kind. And as we all know, reparations is one of the pillars of transitional justice as conceptualized in the Joannet-Orentischer principles. In my view, reparations for looted art is not only the right thing to do and an obligation at the international level, but very concretely, it participates to peaceful transitions and to the reconciliation processes. Lootings and destructions are commonplace in current conflicts. So think about Syria, Iraq, Mali, Afghanistan, or Yemen. Artifacts have been looted, places of worship have been destroyed. These acts may amount to war crimes, and reparation is required. Arguably, reparation, including restitution, is a necessary step towards peaceful societies. So tonight's ceremony is a reminder of that reality, and it gives us an example that should be followed at a much greater and bigger scale by states, non-state actors, and individuals. It is therefore an honor to welcome this ceremony and the representatives of both the British gentleman returning the icon and the Church of Cyprus. The restitution that we are going to witness is not only the restitution of a piece of art, but of a sacred object, which reminds us of the fact that art and religion travel through time and space and transcend our humanity. This is also a beautiful message that emerges from the book of Mr. Metin Arditi, L'homme qui peignait des âmes, and Mr. Arditi, we are really thrilled to have you with us. So now, regarding the conduct of this event, we will have the pleasure to listen first to the introductory speech by Professor Marc-André Reynolds. Then the actual restitution will take place. We will have Miss Maria Tafiti, who is the art historian who will coordinate the procedure for the icons to return to Cyprus, being with us, unfortunately not in the room with us, but actually on Zoom with us. So welcome, Maria. So the icon will not be returned to you directly, but through the hands of your friend, Eleftheria Maimeris, who will receive the icon So on your behalf and on the behalf of Archbishop Chrysostom II. After this restitution, we will have the pleasure and honor to listen to two talks. So first, Dr. Alessandro Cecchi, lecturer at the Law Faculty of the University of Geneva and at the Geneva Academy in the context of the MTJ, and he will speak about restitution of looted art and restorative justice. And last but not least, Mr. Metin Arditi, who is the founder of the RTD Foundation for Intercultural Dialogue and the author of L'Homme qui peignait des âmes, which has been published last year by Grasset. At the end of the ceremony, you are all welcome to take a cocktail with us in the room just next door. So now, without further ado, I give you the floor, Marc-André.
Thank you very much, Gloria, Madame la Directrice. Dear friends, dear colleagues, Madame la Directrice de l'Institut, Monsieur le Doyen de la Faculté de Droit, the representative of Cyprus, Your Excellency, it's a pleasure to have so many people here today to witness this event. Let me tell you a few elements of this story, which is quite unusual and which it is nice to see finish as well. We need good stories these days, and it's nice to have something that is finishing well. When Paul called me, when Paul wrote an email to the Art Law Center just about 2 years ago, his email went into the spam of the Art Law Center. And 1 month later, Alessandro fished it out and told me, "You think this is important?" So we immediately got in contact with this gentleman, and he confirmed his will to return to the Church of Cyprus this holy icon. In the first discussions we had, he said, "It is important for me that I want to do the right thing, and also that no one can claim any financial interest on this." So that's one of the reasons, and I can say we can be quite proud that he came to the University of Geneva and said, "I believe that the University of Geneva will handle this in a non-financial way and that it will be done properly." So once he explained to me what he wanted, I got in contact through Alessandro with Maria Paffiti. So Maria will be telling us a bit more her side of the story, but she very kindly, she is known as the person who has held many restitutions to Cyprus, some of which are very famous cases, the Kanakaria mosaics, among others. And so when we got in contact, it easily flew that she was the right person and that she could arrange for the contacts with the Archbishop, and all of this ran very smoothly. So thanks to Maria, thanks to your contacts, and to your also examination of the icon, also with specialists in photo. I was hoping that you would see it today, but you will see it soon. You were able to say that this was really typically from Cyprus, and you will probably tell us more about the context in which it was painted, it was written. And so that actually the process was quite simple. Mr. Paul told me, "I want to remain anonymous," not because of any misgivings, but just because he's a very modest person and did not particularly want to be in the limelight. And also, he just thought this is what he should do. Also, in the memory of his father. We don't know how his father obtained this, although all we know is his father was in Cyprus in 1974 for the Royal Air Force. We don't know more. But then he had this in his possession, and it went by inheritance to Paul. So that's how it all happened. Why is it happening now, almost 2 years after we had the first contacts? You can all imagine why. COVID. I was meant to bring this icon. I was ready to take it to Cyprus in October 2020. I didn't. It was not possible. And then things moved on. So we finally arranged that Maria Perfiti could come and pick it up. She won't physically today, but you are here with us. Let me now read the message that Paul put on the box in which he built himself out of wood and with which he sent it to me via DHL. Just like that. Not particularly worried. It arrived at the university. You have to pay the VAT. So let me read out what he has written. Greetings to the good people of Cyprus. It gives me great pleasure to be able to return this treasured icon of St. John the Forerunner to you in your lovely island where it really belongs. If only this picture could talk. It would have a great tale to tell about its creation and the joy it has given to many generations of worshippers. It will also tell of the sorrows of the world, conflict and removal to another land for many years. St. John has remained hidden away in a box for years, and this seems such a waste. So reuniting it with the people who really appreciate what it stands for is best for all concerned. I would like to thank Marc-André Renaud, Maria Perfiti, and their academic institutions for their knowledge and skill in finding the proper way forward in returning this treasure to the Greek church in Cyprus, where it was originally painted, and the many people who will be able to admire the image once again. May God bless us all. Paul. So that, I think, is a very moving message, very human, and it shows really what he wants to do the right thing. And he also told me in his discussions we had with him, and I will close with this, that he really wants this to be an example. He is actually following an example. He read in the news that the artist Boy George, you probably don't know him. Do you know Boy George? Yes, the younger ones. You love it? Okay, good. Well, believe it or not, Boy George was once filmed with at a news conference in his home, and behind him there was an icon of Christ Pantocrator. And someone from the church recognized it and said immediately, this comes from Cyprus, you should return it. And in 2012, he immediately returned. No problem. Actually, we wrote a case note on this matter for our database. And this gave the idea to Paul. He said, yeah, he did the right thing. I want to do the same. It's not as impressive. It's a modest icon, but I want to do it in the same way. So that's what prompted the whole adventure. So it really is a great honor. And also, and let me finish with this, it will be the first step, the stepping stone of a project that we are launching at the Art Law Center at the University of Geneva with several other institutions involved, of setting up a platform for the heritage of cultural property, for the diplomacy of cultural heritage, sorry. And this platform will be launched officially in 2 weeks. And it will be, this is really the first step. It's a modest one. We aim to be useful for maybe other types of artifacts, maybe very well-known cases, maybe some that are not so well-known, but really it's a pleasure to be able to do this as a forerunner, if I may say, of this platform. So thank you again. Thank you, Gloria, for welcoming us, and thank you all for being here. Now, with pleasure, Maria, I suppose you have to put your microphone on, and we will be listening to you.
Good evening to all of you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I'm really, really sorry that I couldn't join you this evening. I much anticipated this ceremony for almost 2 years, because as Professor Renaud said, we first spoke about the icon in March or even or April in 2019. And the Archbishop was immediately informed about the case of the icon. And he, in fact, said that he would welcome Professor Renaud in Cyprus. And originally, we had made totally different plans. But then in the summer of 2019, following an accident that the Archbishop had, we had to just postpone. And that was the first delay. We had to simply postpone, but then the situation with COVID was really bad, and so it could not materialize. And in fact, for 2 years, myself and my family, we managed to escape COVID, but not till yesterday, at least for myself. I was just tested positive yesterday, and this made it inevitable for me to travel. So I'm very sad about that, and I'm really sorry. But on the other hand, I must say that I'm really happy about the occasion of this ceremony of restitution, because it is really an important event. And as we discussed many times with Professor Renaud and his team, this icon, and I'm now speaking as an art historian, is not very important artistically and neither historically, but it is a modest icon and very genuine. It follows the Byzantine tradition. It was painted in the 18th century, which was a time of poverty for the people of Cyprus, because the whole island was under the Ottoman occupation at the time. And that's the reason why it's missing the gold background and many gold details, which feature usually on Byzantine icons. Yet it was a good painting, I would say, and more importantly, a very important one for the people who venerated and prayed to this icon, because icons, like all icons, are the means of conveying the prayers and the hopes to the holy figures who are represented. Therefore, theologically and emotionally, this icon is very important, especially for the people who lived with it for a certain amount of time. And speaking about the icons and time, my mind always goes to the words I heard in 2007 during the first repatriation case I worked for. And the ceremony took place in the embassy, in the permanent in the Embassy of Cyprus, I would say, in New York. At the time, Archbishop Dimitrios of America was present, and he made a talk which I always remember. And for me, the most important thing is that he said that we see these icons for the first time, but how many thousands of people and eyes have these icons seen before us, and how many they will see after us? So basically, we now witness, in a way, the comeback to the public domain of an icon, but that icon most probably has already seen many more people than us. We are just witnesses, and we are just the temporary custodians of this icon and all other kinds of art, in fact. And this is the reason why I personally believe that art is something which is more important than each one of us individually. And it's the reason why we are all responsible in one or another way. It's in a way our duty to protect and to act in a way that prevents the crime of looting, whether we are professionals in the field or whether we are just simple citizens in terms of this matter. I must say that the example of this British gentleman is very important, because the icon was hidden, as he said in his message and to Professor Renaud, in a box, in a house that we don't know where it is, and possibly no one would probably find, because it's an icon which is not listed in any archive. It's an icon which does not appear on the list of Interpol or the art laws register. So there is, in fact, no evidence at the moment of its looting. What I would like us to do from tomorrow, when it will go out in the media, is, I hope that some people will be able to recognize it, because the donor said, in fact, that ideally he would like the icon to return to the church where it was looted from. And this is an answer we could not give, but I hope that we will now be able to have some answers when it goes public. And in any case, I think it is a great and a brave initiative of him, and a very kind one, to be able to take the icon out of the secrecy of his house and give it back to the lawful owners. It might be for the memory of his father, but also for, I think, his own peace, because he was very happy when he realized that there is a way for the icon to come back. And it's definitely always an important and joyful event for the people of Cyprus to welcome such artistic treasures. No matter how important they are artistically or historically, they are pieces of its own cultural mosaic, I would say, and there is a place for everything. But it's also something more important for the international community, because it's a Cypriot artifact, but it does not only belong locally, it belongs to the world heritage. So I think we can all join to celebrate that and to raise awareness, and also promise ourselves that each one of us will do whatever one can to protect the cultural heritage, to be aware of the illicit traffic, and to be aware of how we purchase and how we act in the art market. I would like to finish by thanking everyone, the Academy of Geneva for hosting this event, Professor Renaud and his team. I would like to thank the Archbishop who authorized me to get involved in that. I must say that in all the cases, I had the opportunity to get involved in such like a repatriation or restitution or something about the art of Cyprus. He always encouraged and supported me. And I'm very grateful for that, because he always gives wise advice. And also I would like to thank all of the people who are present. And I'm really, really sorry that I'm not there to meet you and discuss. I'm sure that such events raise other similar matters. I hope that we will have the opportunity to see each other again in a different event. And I finish with my friend Eleftheria Maimaris. I would have stayed at her home if I was there, and I will be there soon. Eleftheria is the person who will receive the icon on my behalf and on behalf of the Archbishop, not only because she's an extremely close friend of mine and a trusted friend, but she and her family are very close to the Archbishop as well. So I know that the Archbishop is very happy with Eleftheria taking the icon. I will switch off my microphone. I will follow the ceremony until the end. I don't know if anyone wants to ask something or to say something. I simply want to say once again, I'm sorry I'm not there, but I wish you to enjoy the evening, and thank you to everyone who contributed to the success of this ceremony. I'm really, really grateful. Have a good evening.
So we come to the formal aspect of the this, and I must confess I've never done this, so I don't know how to do it. I'm going to
Don't
name
break it. Don't break it.
the icon. Can you see, Maria? I hope you can see. Yes, okay. So here is the icon. The other day I was touching it rather not so well as now, and art historian told me I was crazy. So I'm not going to put my fingers on the paint, but let me now, this is my Maris, hand you over the icon, and in the name of Maria Pafiti, and also especially of the Archbishop of the Church of Cyprus, I really am very moved to be able to hand him over this icon. I know that he is unwell, but I really sincerely hope that when this icon will be able to reach him, it will bring him some comfort. And also, I know that he wants it to be returned to its real place of origin. So there will be, I'm sure, efforts in the Archbishopry, certainly with the help of Maria and others involved, to find the real place where it belongs. So please, I'm very honored to be able to give this to you and to trust it to you, and don't drop it. Thank you. So now comes the important part. The reflections from the legal and then from the creative, although legal is also creative, but from the legal and the artistic approach. And I'll first give the floor to Alessandro Checchi.
Thank you, Marc-André. Thank you, Gloria, for hosting us. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. My first comment is that don't worry, I'm not going to give a lecture. It's not the moment. The very important event is in fact the restitution. My second comment is, believe me, I would never thought that just taking that email from the spam would have created all these important developments. So now I'm always particularly careful when I check the email of the center. Perhaps there are other persons interested in reaching us to do the right thing. So what I wanted, my task is today is not again to give a lecture. I just would like to explain a little bit why the restitution of the icon of St. John the Forerunner to the Church of Cyprus represents a perfect case study to understand some of the key issues related to the illicit movement of cultural objects. So we'll just take a few minutes, 10 minutes or so, to pinpoint a few of these issues. So the first is about the definition, and something has already been said before about this. So this case confirms that cultural objects, and I quote, cultural objects are those which on religious or secular grounds are of importance for archaeology, prehistory, history, literature, art, or science, end of quote. I just read to you the definition of one of the most important international treaties in the realm of cultural heritage protection, the UNIDROIT Convention on Stolen or Illegally Exported Cultural Objects of 1995. So by reading this definition, we can be sure that the icon is in fact a cultural object. But I would like to go a little bit beyond this formal, official definition, and therefore I want to somehow repeat what Maria Pafiti said. This case proves that the importance of cultural objects does not does not derive from beauty. The beauty of objects does not derive from their historical origin or uniqueness. In fact, the significance of cultural objects is relational. It derives from the relation that individuals, communities, or nations establish with such things. In other words, the value is accorded to cultural objects by individuals, communities, or nations for the reason that such objects form part of the identity, history, and then of the heritage of those individuals, communities, or nations. So if you want, what normally I tell my students that in fact cultural value is just a human invention. It doesn't exist. These objects don't have intrinsically a cultural value. It's given by us. And what was said before by Maria confirms this. My second point relates to the reason of the removal of cultural objects from their original context. So I repeat what was said before. I'm sorry. We don't know anything about the reason, the circumstances. We don't know from where the icon was taken. We don't know who removed it. So we can assume, we can think that it was robbed from a private house, a church, or other religious building in the northern part of Cyprus following the Turkish invasion of the island in 1974 and then exported. Or perhaps it was stolen and exported before 1974 by someone who took advantage of the interethnic, intercommunal tensions that occurred in the 50s and 60s between Greek and Turkish Cyprus. Either way, the case of the icon demonstrates that whenever there is an interstate conflict or interethnic war, or some kind of civil unrest, cultural objects invariably get stolen, if not destroyed, not only by soldiers, but also by common thieves or opportunists. Other famous cases involving the cultural heritage of Cyprus testify to this. The case of Goldberg was mentioned before. So this American art dealer that bought a mosaic here in Geneva, then thought that she was able to keep it, but then well, litigation started in the US with the Church of Cyprus, and eventually the mosaic she lost. Goldberg lost the case, and the mosaics were returned to Cyprus. Another case is the case of the Lisi frescoes, a group of frescoes that were acquired by the Manil Foundation in Texas with the authorization of the Church of Cyprus. Why? Why the authorization? Just to save them from the market. So in fact, the foundation was authorized to buy the collection, was also authorized to conserve them for some 20 years. Then in 2012, the frescoes were sent back to Cyprus. I could mention many other cases. I stop here. My third point is about the procedure that led to the restitution of the icon. So this case is original in that the possessor made the first move to return the icon. We call it voluntary restitution. In this respect, I would like to say that this unselfish move is probably the result of the awareness-raising activities of states and international organizations. So Marc-André mentioned the case of Boy George, that was on the press. This case is also in our database Artemis. but our activity is somehow part of this awareness-raising campaign of UNESCO. So I think that thanks to these activities, most people, including the layperson, are aware of the importance of the restitution of objects, wrongfully removed objects, to their countries of origin. However, we know that Paul did not act alone. He requested the help of the Arlo Center, and we know now that Professor Renaud with Maria Pafiti, they acted, if you want, they acted as mediators. What is mediation? Well, mediation is one of those mechanisms alternative to litigation, together with negotiation, conciliation, and arbitration. These procedures entail benefits that are not available to disputants that resort to litigation before domestic courts. Which benefits? Notably, well, these procedures are normally cheaper, faster. These procedures allow parties to find solutions regardless of what is written in the law of the countries where these objects are found, regarding, for instance, good faith acquisition, or the time limits to open legal proceedings. And also, these procedures may facilitate the adoption of ethical, moral solutions, again, not available to judges, because thanks to this procedure, we can take account of elements that judges cannot take into consideration. So, for instance, the value of this icon for the community, for the person, for the state requesting its restitution. And in relation to this point, I could just emphasize once more the role of our international platform for cultural heritage diplomacy, one of the new activities of the Arlo Center. So with the establishment of this platform, we are ready, if you like, to respond, to advise, to support individuals or collecting institutions that don't know what to do with an object with dubious, with a nefarious past. We can also help disputants that don't know how to handle their dispute. So if you hear of any case, if you know of anybody having this sort of problems, please write to us. Then my final comment is about the outcome of the procedure, restitution. So the icon will be returned to Cyprus, and I'm sure that the church will take good care of this object, so they will probably find the proper place for this object until perhaps they find the place of origin. If we look at these facts, we can simply assume that it is a simple case of restitution, but in fact we can also take this case as an example of restorative justice. What is that? The notion of restorative justice refers to initiatives and practices that aim, among other things, to bring about win-win solutions when the harm that was committed in the past is restored materially and or symbolically through the active involvement, cooperation of the victim and of the offender. Well, in this case, everything happened a long time ago. We don't even know who took the object, in which circumstances. We don't know too many things, but the fact is that the icon of St. John the Forerunner was the object of cooperation dialogue between the parties involved, and all the parties involved wanted to do, again, the right thing. So now we are witnessing the restoration of the harm suffered by Cyprus, the religious communities of Cyprus. So the restitution, in fact, goes in this direction. It really helps to heal this wound, cultural wound, if you like. I stop here. I thank you all for your attention. And again, I'm really happy that the item goes back.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. We all have learned something very important from you. Thank you. And now the floor is to Bettina Vitti. We have been together on several occasions. We organized conferences together on the role of cultural heritage in peace. I will always remember the excellent conference that you gave and the other ones that you helped to organize. It was a wonderful experience. But also, among your many hats, you write and you think, and you've been writing and thinking about icons lately. So it's just perfect to have you here. Thank you, Betty.
Thank you, Maton. I'm very sorry because I didn't know all that would be in English. So I prepared something in French.
It's okay.
Being in Geneva, it's right that we're on the right bank, so très des comptes des organisations internationales. Thank you very much for inviting me, Marc. He invited me because I wrote a book titled L'homme qui peignait les âmes, the man who painted souls. But I'll give you this little 2-minute speech in French. Dans L'homme qui peignait les âmes, histoire qui se passe à la fin du XIe siècle en Palestine, Avner, jeune garçon juif, découvre les icônes, se convertit pour en écrire, puisqu'on ne peint pas l'icône, on l'écrit, l'icône étant une prière. Il devient grand iconographe, et puis, à un moment donné, sa vie bascule. Plutôt que d'exprimer la part humaine du Christ, de la Mère de Dieu ou des saints, Avner fait l'inverse. Il va chercher en chaque être humain sa part de divin. Il n'écrit plus ses icônes selon l'expression consacrée, il les peint. Et bien sûr, se fait chasser de Marsaba, le grand monastère que chaque orthodoxe connaît bien. Le nom du donateur de cette icône que nous célébrons aujourd'hui, Paul, m'a renvoyé aux épîtres de Paul aux Corinthiens, et en particulier à sa première épître. Que fait Paul sinon entériner la démarche d'Avner? Ne savez-vous pas que vos corps sont des membres du Christ? Demande Paul aux Corinthiens. Ne savez-vous pas que votre corps est le temple du Saint-Esprit qui est en vous? Glorifier votre corps, c'est forcément glorifier Dieu, nous dit en substance saint Paul. Bien avant la naissance du christianisme, un peuple a su glorifier le corps comme aucun autre peuple depuis n'a su le faire. C'est le peuple grec. Qui oserait dire que les sculptures du Parthénon ne sont pas une glorification de Dieu? Elles glorifient l'homme, création divine par excellence. Elles glorifient donc Dieu. Aujourd'hui, comme presque chaque jour, mais aujourd'hui surtout, je pense aux frises du Parthénon, arrachées sans ménagement, à la va-vite, à la gangster, entre 1801 et 1804, par Lord Elgin, dans ce qui reste le plus grand acte de brigandage de toute l'histoire de l'art. Je l'avoue, j'y pense avec colère. Des frises gardées aujourd'hui encore en otage, au défi de toutes les lois et de toute éthique. Le geste de Paul, l'interlocuteur de mon ami Marc-André, est plus qu'éloquent. Il est empreint de grâce. Peut-être devrions-nous mandater notre Paul pour aller dire quelques mots au trustees du British Museum.
Merci de nous avoir permis de finir en beauté cette cérémonie. C'est un immense plaisir. C'est aussi un immense plaisir de parler en français.
Merci.
Encore un grand merci.
Est-ce que quelqu'un parmi vous souhaiterait s'exprimer? Peut-être l'Église souhaiterait-elle dire quelque chose? Non, d'accord. Monsieur.
Thank you very much. Sorry, English, not very good at French yet. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Chrysostom, and I'm First Secretary of the Permanent Mission of Cyprus. And I have the honor today to represent my ambassadors for Tunisia to attend this historic moment. Indeed, it's a historic and actually moving moment for every Cypriot. I believe I speak on behalf of every Cypriot, that whenever we have the opportunity to retrieve a cultural artifact which was looted from our occupied areas, it's like we are in a ceasefire line. We open a window, we feel the fresh air coming from the opposite mountains and the Lactilos, and we hear the bell ringing from a church which is appropriately armed. We have unfortunately lost more than 16,000 cultural artifacts from our occupied areas since 1974, a year that marked the Turkish invasion. We have, of course, the government has, of course, embarked on actions to try to include as many artifacts as we can in the very beginning. But of course, those actions couldn't be successful if we didn't have unselfish people individually, unselfishly provide their goodwill in order to return cultural artifacts that belong to the history, not to people of Cyprus. Because those artifacts do not belong to individuals. They belong to the history. And as Maria correctly said, we are just witnessing what we see in front of us. I can only add to what Dr. Keki said about the international structure on regulating cultural retrieval of cultural artifacts. The illegal transfer of cultural artifacts is of course a crime which is regulated under the United Nations Transnational Organized Crime Convention, and there are of course guidelines to regulate the implementation of criminal justice measures when we have illegal transfer of such artifacts. When it comes to the place where those artifacts are reached, actually it was only in September or in 2021 that we had the chance to retrieve cultural artifacts from Japan, a very complicated process which lasted decades. Maria may know more about that. We could retrieve it from Japan. But I believe there was a question where do those artifacts that we retrieved go, actually wanting to go to the places where which were looted in the churches. But of course we cannot because they are in the occupied areas. But I think that the Archbishop has symbolically, and of course I stand to be corrected, Maria may know more, Archbishop has created a place in his residence, in the Archbishop residence, where all those looting artifacts go in waiting of the time to go back to where they belong. Thank you very much. That is indeed a moving moment, and I thank you for organizing this.
Go ahead.
So, further to the request of Maria, I would like us to have a photo with Maria as the background.
Okay.
Since she's not here with us.
So why don't you come here?
Yes, we have to go closer, I think, to.
To get the photo?
Yes.
Ah, do we stand next to her?
Maria, or you and I have a symbolic
Oh,
for you.
thank you very much.
So I think, and probably we have to bring also the Maria. You want also the right? Yes.
Ah, yeah, of course.
Yes.
Okay, you take care. It's in your hand now.
Actually, I don't see you, but I'm sure that I am with you in the photo, I suppose. Ah, it's very good. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for making this favor.
Thank you.
Very much for here with us. I would like also to thank those who are working behind the scenes and to the communication also of the Geneva Academy with Tatiana, Natalie, Yasmin Arias, our events assistants. And once again, it was a true honor to have you all here with us. So please now come with me and with us, and let's have a drink. Thank you.